Happy New Year. Is that okay to say Happy New Year, or is it too late? Anybody watch Seinfeld? I feel like that show is aging very, very well. So many of the topics that they discuss is relevant today. So, in case you guys don't know, this is me, or maybe you don't recognize my voice. I'm the client success champ here at Convertri. My job is to show you how to use Convertri better. I run onboarding calls. I've presented several webinars for you already, and I also hang out in the Facebook group to answer your questions. So you probably recognize me from there. I also hang out on the support desk in the evenings, answering just anything you want. Eric from Quebec. It's okay. I do want to tell everyone that this webinar is being recorded, and unless an asteroid hits Earth, we should have a recording of it for you by next Tuesday. Though for me, I usually get it in a lot, way in before that. To put a face to this voice, this American voice, that's me there in Japan. I'm about to devour a plate of Wagyu beef. I don't eat a lot of meat. I eat it like maybe once or twice a month. So when I do eat beef or meat, I make sure that it's worth it. And Wagyu beef just melts in your mouth. Can't wait to go back to Japan. All right, so you guys, we have a lot of updates to go through. So here's what we're going to go through in the webinar. I'm going to cover some features that were released this month, and I'm going to cover features that we released last month as well. There was a webinar last month on the funnel designer. I know because I presented it, but since many people were on holiday, we skipped the update webinar. So I'm going to cover the features that we released in December. All right, so let's start with the first one, which is snap lines. Snap lines. All right, so snap lines. Snap lines is this. See how I'm moving this image? And see how it snaps into place next to these guidelines, the blue guidelines? Right now, the default is 10 pixels. 10 pixels. If you go to the display icon, you can now change that to whatever you like. So let's change it to 20 pixel. No, not 120. Let's change it to 20 pixels and see how that affects the snap line. See how they're a lot thicker now? 20 pixels. Let's change it to 50 pixels. Oh, see how that thickened it up? So this is really cool because excuse me, before this feature, I had to, well, when I first got hired earlier around the summer last year, I had to create templates on Convertri I had to transfer over templates from Zeppelin and Figma, and I had to get the spacing between images like perfect. And to do that, this is what I used to do. I would get a panel like this, and if the space between two elements was like 15%, I'd go to positioning and just change it. And then I would change the color. So background, this is before, see? And then I would like put this next to the guideline and then just hug it like so. And that's how I used to, hello? Okay, and so that's how I used to measure the distance between elements. But now you don't have to do that. anymore, just go to display and you can modify the space between snap lines this way. Cool stuff, right? All right, the next feature that we released, well, it's more of an update really, is the mobile version source code. What will interest you here to know is that behind the scenes, our tech team adjusted the page construction so that there are no longer duplicate text elements for the mobile and the desktop version. Now there's only one text element in the source code. It's supposed to be good for SEO, and what it basically means is that your pages will load faster as a result of this. All right? Make sense? Any questions about that? Yeah, there's just one source code for the desktop and the text element. No more duplicates. It's supposed to be good for SEO because it also loads your pages a lot faster. Third feature release is the scripts indicator. This is sort of a game changer for me because I work on a support desk in the evenings, and one of the first things I check when someone gives me the edit URL of their page is to see if there's any scripts that could be messing around with the page, you know? So to check your scripts, you go to your page settings in your page builder. Okay, and go to custom scripts. And you see that I have two scripts here. And you can check this at the account level, at the domain level, and at the funnel level. I only have two scripts at the page level. They're both on. You could turn them off as well. But now I just have to go to custom scripts and see, oh, do they have any scripts running? They do, they don't. Whenever you add a script, make sure to republish the page. So if you add a new script, republish the page. The script won't show up in the live page until it's published. So scripts indicator, good stuff. So 3 features down, more to go. Menu bar, new link, new tab. Okay, this one's exciting because I gave a webinar a few months ago about how to create a menu bar where you can click on the links and the links would open in a new page. So I created a workaround. But you don't need to use that anymore because we rolled out this feature. So let me show you how that works. For those of you who use our menu bar feature, you probably already know what it looks like, but I'm just going to show you quickly. Go to your elements tray, hit menu, and this is how you add one. And then over in the elements properties panel, you hit menu items, and then you can just add your items like so. See, I already created one, so let's go to this one. And I've already set my link. So just hit the drop down menu. You need to set your item type to link. If you set it to internal link, you'll see that it looks different. If you set it to link, you now have the option to open the link in a new tab. So I'm going to do that with all my links. And I just added random links. Hit save, and then I'll publish. And let's take this for a quick spin. Huh. Excuse me, I'll do it again. Alrighty. So hit home, and that opened in a new tab. Hit about. Yep, that opened in a new tab. Hit video ring, see? So this is a link to a school that I'm checking out for my daughter. She's 2.5, and I live in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia. So They tell us that if we want to start looking for a good school, we need to do it while they're in the womb, and I just didn't do that. But I think I'll be fine. All right, so this is really good because we have many users who put their main landing pages on Convertri, and some of them they like to put their blog in WordPress. So with this feature, people won't leave the landing page, right? They won't leave the landing page. You can now open these links in a new tab. So you're welcome for that. Next one is SmartText. SmartText, that's what we call it, SmartText. You guys were quite vocal about this one. When we first rolled SmartText out a few weeks back, we were really excited about it. In fact, I created a video featuring it and I thought, oh my goodness, this is so intuitive. Not that, no, not really. So here's what SmartText is. Just refresh your memory. I'm gonna demonstrate what SmartText is. I think it's on. No, it's not on. So here's SmartText. We're using a template from Convertri. You guys should really check these out. Most of the copy is done for you. You just have to insert the text that you want. So a guaranteed way to, I don't know, transform your hair and make it thick and shiny. See how that moves everything down? So a lot of you guys weren't fans about this, and our tech team got to work right away. Now you have the option to turn it off. So I'm gonna delete some of this stuff. And okay, we have SmartText on. Now let's turn it off. I'm gonna just copy and paste some text. See? It's no longer doing that. It's no longer pushing things down. But what's really cool is that you could work between these two behaviors. So if you like SmartText, then turn it on when you want to use it. Turn it off when you don't need to use it. See, now you have that space here. There you go, SmartText. I'm gonna move these elements around. SmartText, any questions about that? So far, no questions and nothing in the chat, I presume. Nope. All right, SmartText. Next feature that we rolled out is our new shift drag behavior. Shift drag. I thought this was pretty silly, so I shared it. Clay Davis? Yeah, that's Clay Davis from The Wire. Shift drag. Shift drag. Let me show you how that works. So we adjusted this behavior to be a bit smarter. I'm gonna scroll down over here. All right, so let's call this here the parent container. Sorry, it's not letting me click. Maybe because that's not the editor. Oh. All right, we're back in the editor. So let's call this gray panel with the two elements in. Let's call this the parent container. It's the one that encapsulates other containers, or elements as we call them. Before, if you shift drag a container like this, it would grow the parent container and move this container below. It would also move this image here. See? So before it would move the image here because it was lower than this container. Does that make sense? That was the old behavior. And we changed it so that it doesn't do that anymore. Now it will only move containers next to it if it's entirely below. Okay, so the fidget cube, by the way, I have one of these. The fidget cube is now entirely below the parent container. So let's shift drag this blue container. See how it's moving the fidget cube? And I'm shift dragging it down. Sorry, shift drag here. I'll shift drag this here too. And it's moving the fidget cube. What if I move the fidget cube up here? Let's shift drag. Okay, it's not moving that. That's because it's not entirely below. Let's move it up here. Still not moving it, see? It has to be entirely below. The top edge of this container has to be below the lower edge of the parent container for it to move. So we just made it more intuitive. Hope you like this. Now let's go on to our 7th behavior, shift resize aspect ratio. This is for panels. So I'm going to move things around a bit so that I can show you. Previously, before this release, you could shift resize panels to any size you want. So this, you would shift resize and drag the corner, and you can resize it to any panel, to any size you want. It would also move the container here because it's below it, and it would leave that here. So you would have something like this. So we didn't think that was cool, so we changed it so that it no longer does that. Now, when you hold down shift and drag it at the corner, one, it won't move elements around it. And two, it will maintain the aspect ratio. That's what's key to understand here, is that you grab the corner, and if you hold shift, you can resize it to maintain the aspect ratio. See how it's the same? If you let go of shift, then it will no longer maintain the aspect ratio. You can just resize it to whatever you want, and it won't move elements around it. Make sense? Okay, I see that we have more attendees here. Welcome, you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. I want to remind you all that there will be a replay of this. Unless something happens to my computer, if it crashes, then there probably won't be. But yes, we usually post a replay by next Tuesday. And I could see that we don't have any questions. Let's move on to our 8th feature release, which is data layer. So data layer. Anybody here use Google Tag Manager, GTM as we call it? All right. Well, if you do, this next one might interest you. Our data layer now supports transactions that include multiple products. The previous version only sent data of one product in a transaction, which meant that data was lost when you added a bump cell. This new data layer now sends all transactions data with every product. So let me tell you something about our Convertri cart. When people make purchases, it's one product per transaction. You can add a bump cell like this, and so then it would be 2 products for that transaction. The challenge was that before the data layer didn't record this bump cell, you know. Now it does, so it's pretty cool. For anyone who doesn't know what a data layer is, data layer lets you easily find information and send it to different tools and applications. For example, if you're using Google Tag Manager, you can have it take actions based on events in the data layer. Here's, we do have a tutorial here about Google Tag Manager and an article here. Cool, right? Data layer. You can now add bump offers. For those of you who came in late, this is Clay Davis from The Wire. Shift drag. And we just discussed shift drag a moment ago. Oh, so for data layer, the new event to use is CVT purchase. If you prefer to keep the old one, you can still use it. Here's the old one. Anyone here use data layer? Let me know. Say yes. Just type in yes if you use data layer. All right, similarity features. There's so much to cover. The first one is the conversion factor. The conversion factor. I'm going to leave this here because I don't think we need it anymore. I hope. So for the conversion factor, I'm going to bring back Bert Simpson, the real estate lawyer. For those of you who don't know Bert Simpson, it's Bert, B-E-R-T. I used them in my last webinar, this one here, Funnel Designer webinar, creating basic and complex scenarios to generate leads and project earnings. I used Bert as an example. He is based on a real person, someone I used to work with, and the numbers here are also based on real numbers. They're just more conservative. So I'm going to bring him back to show you what the conversion factor is. The conversion factor lets you, here, let me go back here. It lets you adjust the conversion rate of certain pages depending on what your prospects have seen in the funnel in the past. So here's the scenario here that I painted for you. We have two paid traffic sources, Facebook ads and Google ads. One is going to a content page, like a really awesome article that shows how cool Bert is, how successful he is. And another one is going to an opt-in. We send people to articles and opt-ins before the sales page because this warms them up for the sales page. And I do go through that in my Funnel Designer webinar. The traffic from the opt-in in the content page goes to a sales page, and then it goes to a sales page, and then it goes to this upsell page, and also automatically it adds anyone who makes any purchases into an autoresponder so that we can sell them more stuff later on. Okay, the thing to keep an eye on is this area here. Now, the content page here has a conversion rate of 80%, meaning that 80% of the traffic that lands here will like the article enough to check out what Bert has in store, okay? The sales page here has a conversion rate of 10%, meaning that 102 people will hire Bert as a result of seeing this sales page. But what if the article here is so good, like it has some really good tips and it makes Bert look really good? What if it's so good that it gives them that fuzzy feeling, that warm feeling, and they want to buy now? That's why we created the conversion factor. What if, after reading this article, a prospect becomes 15% more likely to hire Bert? This is why we created the conversion factor. I hope that's clear. Here's what you need to understand. There are two different things at play here. The conversion rate, let me show you. This content page here has a conversion rate of 80%. And there's also the conversion factor, which you can access through general properties. Here's a conversion factor. The conversion rate of this content page represents how many people are hitting this page and moving on to the sales page. It does not represent if people will be more likely to hire Bert as a result of reading this article. Again, the conversion rate does not factor in that fuzzy feeling. If we think that people will be, let's say, 15% more likely to buy after seeing this page, we can set that in the conversion factor, which is what I already did. So I'll go to general properties, conversion rate. I'm going to say 15% more, so it's 1.5. Why? Because the sales page has a conversion rate of 10%. See, 10%. And I want them to be 15% more likely. 1.5 times 10 is 15. The conversion factor is a multiplier. Think of it as it giving a boost to certain pages. So that's the conversion factor. What's really cool about this is that you can apply the conversion factor to whatever page you want. You can apply it to all page elements, or you can apply it to certain page elements like the sales page, or like just the content page here. And also over here where it says apply to, you have several options. You can apply the conversion factor to the next conversion only, to all subsequent conversions, or next purchase only, which means that it would just factor this purchase, or to all subsequent purchases. So it would apply to the sales page here and to the upsell. See? That's the conversion factor. Any questions? So far, no questions. And we have another attendee that came in. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to say who you are and what you do. All right, next release, figures. This is another big one for our funnel designer. With figures, you can get a quick bird's eye view of optimistic and pessimistic scenarios almost instantly without changing each element individually in your scenario. So let me show you what I mean. So before, in order to create a pessimistic scenario, you'd have to go into scenarios, create a new one. So this is a scenario that I created for expensive traffic. What if traffic was 50% more expensive than I previously thought? I would have to change the cost here and the cost here, and I would create a new scenario, right? But with figures, you can do this a lot faster. So let me go back to my original scenario. So with figures, you can adjust figures globally in relation to this original scenario. So let's hit simulate right now. There's no figures going on. It's just a basic scenario where cost of traffic is like $3. Well, how much is it here? For Facebook ads, we put it at 50 cents a click. This is all made up, by the way. Google words are $3 a click, okay? Let's hit simulate, and we have a profit of $1 million, 17,900, right? So remember that number. What would profit look like if traffic was 50% more expensive than expected? So let's go to figures. Here's the icon, the new icon. Hit that, hit enable, go to traffic cost, and let's type in 50%, hit confirm. And let's hit simulate. All right, so that didn't make much of a difference. Before it was $1,017,900. Now it's $1,016,850. So a small difference. We can also set negative. We can also use negative numbers to create really pessimistic scenarios. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go back to figures. What if conversions were to drop by 20%? So let's hit -20, confirm. Let's hit simulate. Now that made a huge difference. Instead of a profit of over $1 million, the profit is now a lot less than that. So huge difference. So keep in mind, when you enable figures, the numbers you set here, that will override. That will override the numbers that you set for every page element in the scenario. So for example, for traffic costs, let me go back to traffic. We did 50% more, hit confirm. And these are our two traffic elements. So figures, because it's enabled, it affected this and this. Let me show you how. See where it says cost per click? That's locked in. You can't edit that because you enable figures. Go to Google Words. That's locked in. You can't edit that because you enable figures. Let's go back to our previous negative conversion of 20%. See how it changed that? We're now changing the conversion rate for conversions. So let's go to, so every element that has a conversion rate will be affected by this, by figures. So let's go to content page, conversions, that's locked in. It's no longer 80%. The conversion rate for this opt-in page is no longer 50%. And the sales page, it's no longer 10%, it's 8%. It's an 8% conversion rate. Two more things that I need to point out here for figures is that disabling figures is pretty easy. I'm sure you could guess how to do it. You go to figures and just toggle that off. Hit confirm, and you can see that that's no longer locked in. Second, you can create a new scenario and apply the figures in that new scenario if you want. I just like using the original scenario because it's faster, it's easy. Any questions about this? Damon says very useful things. You are very welcome, Damon. Let's go back to our slides. Now, a lot of these features that I'm covering, I've created a video for them, and I sometimes tend to get a little silly for them. And one of them, the page was filled with shrimp. The landing page was filled with shrimp. It was a template that I used, and so I ended up adding shrimp puns, which hurt my ears, but I like to put myself out there. What can I say? All right, bump offers. You can now simulate in bump offers. So bump offers. I think I closed that page, unfortunately, but you saw it in Fidget Fiona. The mala bracelet, the bump offer. You can now simulate that in your funnel design. So to do that, let's go to our sales page element. Element properties, make sure you open that. Go to conversions, hit choose product. If you have a product there already, you can just click on the pencil icon. And below here, you have the option to turn that into a bump offer. See? Hit OK. Or you can add a new one. So you could turn this one, that you have into a bump offer, or just add a new one. So I'm gonna add the mala bracelet, bump sell, turn on bump offer. We also added refunds. You can now factor in refunds. You know, the part of life that sucks. So to do that, you can see here in products, you can add the refund rate. So let's say the refund rate is like 33% for this. Actually, let's not do it for this one. Let's add it to this. Say 30. Let's say that it has a refund rate of 33%. Hit OK. Hit OK. We'll hit simulate. And over here, refund value, you'll see how much that sucked. Refunds. Next feature. Let me know if I'm going a little bit fast. These are features that are just pretty simple, easy, but they're a big deal. Okay. So just to remind you, refresh your memory. Not that we all have short-term memories. We just covered pump offers and refunds. Fifth feature, you can now delete scenarios. I really like this one. And I was like, come on, this should be easy, and it is. So to delete scenarios, just hit the rubbish bin next to scenarios, see? It'll ask you, are you sure you want to do this? Hit delete. Now it's deleted. Good stuff, right? Good. Yes, the funnel designer keeps getting better by the month. Yep. Okay, so we've come to the end of our features releases. By the way, the deleting scenarios, I think we actually released that in December. That was released in December. Oh, no, there's one more. This one, metrics for multiple scenarios. This is the one that we released in December. So after you had so much fun creating your funnel design, you want to save that. You can go into projections. I already opened this up. And you have the option to view the projections for all of your scenarios, see? You could generate a proposal as well for each scenario as well. Oh, well, yeah, you would have to add scenario. Yep, that is the last feature released since December. All right, so what else is up? Well, there are 2 webinar replays that you guys should check out. The one in December was all about using this funnel designer, creating basic and complex scenarios to generate leads. I used Bert Simpson, a guy I used to work with. He's an actual real estate lawyer. And I use real numbers, but I just made them conservative. Now that you have the option for figures, the figures feature and the conversion factor, then there's a lot more that you can do there. The other webinar that we released, I also hosted this one, is social media for minimalists. This one is different. The social media for minimalists webinar is different because the webinars we present here, as you know, are all about Convertri or the funnel designer. We decided to change it up because one of the questions that I get a lot in my onboarding calls is, well, then how do you get traffic to your landing page? In the webinar, I show you how to leverage your personal Facebook page. I show you what you need to have on your Facebook business page, and I even show you the steps that I took to grow my clients' Instagram followers. I used to be a social media consultant. I basically show you everything that you need to know to get the most bang for your buck. Like if you don't have time to create content, to if you don't have time, what is it? What is the bare minimum that you need to know in order to get this running and in order for you to see some results? That's what this webinar is about. I'm going to throw out a poll for you guys because I see enough attendees. Okay. I'm going to throw out a poll. And this is about this webinar, the social media panel, because it was so different. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if you guys will go for it, but please. So my question is, did you like our last webinar? If you didn't see it, then do you like the idea of it? Just answer to the best of your abilities, please. This will help us decide what kind of webinars to run, So did you like our last webinar? You can say yes, you would love to see more webinars on social media. Just yes. Oh, cool. 71% says yes, would love to see more webinars on social media. Really? Excellent. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Okay. And more people are voting. I guess you have a minute. 53 voted. 56. All right. 63 people. 63% have voted. This is interesting. I'm going to run more polls like these. 80% of you are saying yes, you would love to see more webinars on social media. Interesting. Feel free to pop in topics for social media. Like, what do you want to see? Do you want to see what is the platform that you want to see the most? Because in that webinar, I just covered Instagram and Facebook, and there's more that I can cover on those too, believe me. But we also have LinkedIn. Like, I have a client that I used to work with, but my husband, he's working with them now. It's a title company, and you think that they can't create fun stuff, but yeah, there's fun stuff that they're creating they're doing cool stuff to make themselves look cool, getting people's attention. So there's LinkedIn, there's Pinterest. I'm not doing TikTok. Okay, that's all I'm saying. All right, plenty of you voted. I'm just going to close this, I guess, close poll, and go back to this webinar. All right, thank you guys. Feel free to, all right, Damon Sweeney says, social media was January 20 of this year. January of 2020, yeah, so this year. So to find that, it's really simple. You go to help.convertri.com, go to training webinars, and you can hit the first one up. That's the one. That's the best thumbnail you can have. That's my daughter. Okay, so check that out. All right, let's move on to, sorry, Ingrid says, Instagram, Pinterest would be very interesting for me. Really? The slide says 2021. Might have been, must be a typo. It's a typo. You're right. My bad. Thank you. Thank you, Damon. January 2022. It was earlier this month, so check that out. Ingrid says that she would love to see Instagram and Pinterest. Instagram. What do you do, Ingrid? I totally recognize your name, but tell me what it is that you do. So with Instagram, I guess I can cover things like how to post, when to post, and go through the analytics. We'll see. Yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about there. All right. So this is where you find the webinar replays. Now what's coming up? So next month in February, Dan, my colleague Dan, is going to do a webinar on website building with Convertri. He's done one before, and there's just so much that you can do with Convertri to build a website, and so many people use Convertri to build websites because speed is really important for them, for their online presence. So Dan and we're gonna start alternating with presenting the training webinars and the update webinars. I'm gonna present a training webinar every other month from now on. So next month, so this month, actually, I did the update and the training webinar. Next month, I'm not doing the training webinar. Dan is. I will do the update webinar, and then March is when I will do a training webinar. So we're just alternating, okay? For me, that's great news because creating these training webinars takes just so much time, and research, like the time and in that I need to know I need to decide how to organize information to present it to you guys. Ooh, Ingrid says, okay, you do affiliate and art on Etsy. Oh, I love Etsy. I bought my engagement ring there. Other Convertri news. So Andy is taking over customer success. So I'm basically reporting to him instead of Neil. Yeah. Second thing, Neil is taking on marketing. Yeah. And yeah, just some background news. Who knows if you're curious. Basically, you'll be seeing less of Neil in the Facebook group. You'll still see Andy too, just not as much. If you do see them around in the Facebook group, just understand that they can't help themselves. They're people. You're going to see more of Dan and I in the Facebook group. You may have noticed that already. And that's the outcome that we want. Dan and I will take care most of your questions in the Facebook group. For those of you who don't hang out in the Facebook group, let me tell you that it's a great way to get your questions answered, not just by me and Dan, but also from people who use Convertri. And if you're a social media consultant or freelancer, maybe you build websites using Convertri, it's a good way to get your name out there. Not by saying blatantly, this is what I do, although you can do that, but really by adding value, answering people's questions, showing people that you know your stuff. And then you could say, by the way, I freelance and I build Convertri websites, good place to hang out. Oh, also, so Beth, she releases the update emails every month, right? Neil did it this month because Beth is on holiday. But also on the Facebook group, you can see video versions of the feature updates. I create them and I have fun with them. So check that out in the Facebook group. I'm also posting on the Facebook business page. Yeah. So follow us in the Facebook business page, and if you turn on your notifications, then you'll see my videos. Yep, and that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Any questions? I'll hang out here for about a minute or two. Maybe it'll jog your memory. I'll go back to the beginning of my slides. Taking a sip of water, excuse me. It looks like we have no questions. Alex says, thanks, it was great. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining. And thank you all, too, for answering the poll. I'll decide by the first week or second week of February what to make my webinar on. But do check out Dan's webinar. All right, I'm gonna go now. Thank you, Ingrid. You have a good day. I'm gonna leave now. Enjoy the rest of your day, whatever time it is where you are at. Goodbye.